Highland Park earlier, filming a game out there. Actually, it was at another location, but it was for Highland Park. I always have a cultural experience, and it's nothing racial at all, but it's just some of the stuff that I hear and I see pertaining to the young people out there, or the people, or the parents. The stuff that they say about their children, this, that, and the other. And it's little things that I say, okay, I see the way they operate in their culture versus the way that we operate. Uh, and you always have to look at things when you're around another group of people, especially people who are either rich or successful, not because you want to be like them, but because sometimes it's just interesting to see, okay, they do things this way, we do things that way. But something interesting, a young lady, probably about 19 or 20, probably a freshman in college, she came and sat by a group of girls. They were probably a couple of them were her age, and one of them was maybe 14. And she was talking about going to Marquette up north in Wisconsin, by a very prestigious university, Jesuit University at that, if I might add that in. But anyway, she was saying how she enjoyed her freshman year, and she talked a little bit about, yeah, it was cold up there, but she said that, and then the girls asked her a few questions, and I went from that, and I started thinking, because right next to us were a group of young African American boys, and they were joking about school. They were joking about, I'm going to go to ITT Tech. I'm going to go to Phoenix Online, and it kind of hit me. I said, so many of our African American boys are falling through the cracks. Sure, I know many African American brothers who have went the ranks of the prestigious universities of Texas and SMU and things of that nature, but that's not often. And so often within our community, it's either you play sports or you rap, and after that you probably sell dope. I'm talking about when you're from the real hood, not any of the other stuff. I'm talking about when you're really from the hood. So it's like your future is already predicted for you, because you and it's kind of deep though, because I believe that it's by design, and you have to have a thick skin or good parents and a good household to even overcome it. But it's kind of like they show you success and say you can be anything you want to be, but they don't really show you how to really be successful. So, we rely on sports, and I'm gonna tell you something so interesting about sports. Sports will land you at the University of Virginia. It'll land you at the University of North Carolina, University of Texas. They'll accept you for ramming your head into another man. 30 years down the line, you're gonna have a concussion, but based off your academics, you can't even get on campus. And it's crazy what's going on. It's like we're going to use you, and we're not going to pay you. We're going to use you to make our universities billions. But if it wasn't for you being 6'4", able to run a 4.340, you wouldn't be on our university, because we don't deem you smart enough to even be here. And they control the system. So it's kind of like, and it's so weird, because when you think about it, and you think about it, it's like, okay, they control the sports, they control the leadership in the sports, they control the school, they control the institutions, and the African American institutions like Hampton and like Morehouse and like the one up in Washington D.C. So many of the black institutions that were used to be known for doing great things, they're crumbling financially. So it's like, not only are we falling through the cracks, we don't even have a system of our own. We don't have no more. And I know we do, but I'm just saying in a context of what I'm saying. We don't have any higher institutions. We don't have any institutions like Tuskegee. When I was studying, looking up Booker T. Washington, who was teaching the young black men of that day how to lay bricks so they can be carpenters. In a sense, how to lay bricks so they can have a trade. So what tends to happen is, guys, once the men fall through the cracks, they already feel like they don't have a way out, man. And the same people that control the universities are in bed with the people who are building prisons. And it's not really funny, guys. I'm really sad. I should be crying, it's like we are duped. It's like we're so duped, because as black people, and we have so many successful black people, it's like we don't reach back into our culture. It's like as soon as we become successful, we move out north. We go to Northport. We go as far north as we can get, and we forget that we come from the slum. Not everybody come from the slum, but the ones that did, because we're not connected. And it's so sad because you don't even necessarily have to have a great education to be successful. But the thing is, in their system, typically you do. And our young men are failing. I don't know if it's because they're not applying themselves, or if it's because they don't know the material. They don't know how to read. They don't know the math. And I said something interesting, man. I said it's crazy that we don't have any schools for our people. And I say that like that because they write the curriculum. Guys, look at what's going on. If I write the curriculum and I write the test, I can deem you stupid by what I write. So it's not a matter of you maybe you're not stupid, but according to me, because I'm a doctor, and I sit in a room with 20 other people who make the test. We print out the test, we give it to you. We know you're gonna fail before we give it to you. Guys, and nobody see it. Nobody's willing to call it out. So it's like you have a few good brothers and sisters who go to university, or a few good ones that are successful in corporate America or whatever, or maybe entrepreneurs, but the most fall under the cracks. Even the athletes, they don't take advantage of the opportunity and being at college. They some of them are rich and then become broke. And oftentimes when you go to college to play football, you have a very small percentage that go to play NFL or NBA. And it's so crazy because, guys, it's like they can tell where you gonna be based off if you can read in the 3rd and 4th grade. If you can't read, let's build another prison for this nigga. And see, and nobody want to talk like that. That stuff. That's real, man. That is so real because, see, the thing about it is, if they know that if you don't know how to read and write and do the basics at a young age, we can predict that you're gonna be an inmate in the penitentiary. And we sit there and ask, wow, the prison's full of black men. Think, if you don't know how to read, if you don't know how to write, if you don't know how to do the basics, then eventually go on and start something or do something, get education, you're gonna have to sell dope. And when you sell dope, you're gonna go to jail. It's like living in a I don't know if the word is paradox. I don't know what the word is, man. But it's when you finally wake up and see it, it's like, man, not saying we can't be successful, but I'm saying, are we willing to come back and to get the next generation? Guys, when I'm out there in Highland Park filming games, those parents, they not all of them, but some of them, they pay for their children to go to University of Oklahoma or Oklahoma University and or whatever it is, University of Texas. They pay for it out their pocket because they got money. Some of it is old money, but some of it is money they created. I'm not bagging rich people, but I'm saying, guys, they have a legacy. They have an expectation of greatness within our community, guys. I'm gonna be frankly honest with you. Instead of an expectation of reading and studying, we have an expectation of sports. When everybody's not going to be an athlete, when you put more emphasis on sports than you do education, failure is going to come. I guarantee it, because everybody's not going to be successful in sports. You know what I'm saying? Which is why it is best to put a lot of emphasis on education and sports. If you can do so, yeah, play sports, man, but also read, also study, because that's going to carry you forever. And I think that's where we're lacking at, man. We I don't know if we take that stuff serious, man. We have libraries, guys. It's full of Black history books. I mean, guys, I got a book right here. I hope you guys don't think I'm just talking, man. I don't do this stuff just to talk. I got a book right here. It's called The Arts and Letters of African American. This book is, let me see how long this book. This book is probably 900 pages. This book has 573 pages. full of African Americans who were poets, African Americans who were great musicians, who were great painters, African Americans who were scholars, who wrote things and invented things. We come from a legacy, guys. But if you expect your oppressor to show that you're educated and show that you're something, you're a fool. They're never gonna show that you're something. So oftentimes, guys, we believe the lies, and oftentimes we sit there and all we focus on is sports. That's all we want to do is be athletes. Instead of saying, "Hey, young man, you can be a young scholar. Do your homework, young fella." But that's not cool though, because for whatever reason, guys, our people, it seems like we don't want that, you know. And the rappers don't glorify being educated. They don't glorify being operating your gifts and talents. And they control the music industry, guys. Look what's going on. They're feeding crack to the children and poison to the parents. And nobody seems to see what's going on. Guys, we have to do something, guys, because you know, so many people say, "Well, my family's successful. My sons are going to the university. My sons are doing this." Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's cool. That's another problem. We're so darn selfish, man. It's like, what about your son might be successful, your daughter? What about the 50,000 other kids all across the cities in the inner city that ain't going nowhere? They not going nowhere. They tatting up their faces. Guy asked me, man, why they're not going anywhere, man. And we can't save everybody. I know that sounds weird, but I believe that if the scholars, and we have some African American scholars, we have some guys that they got some doctorate and some master's degrees. We got some sisters who are doctors and PhDs in education. And we black folks are successful nowadays. Just think, guys, we got 50 churches on one block and we can't come together to solve some of our problems because ego, because selfishness, because pride. And then we sit there and wonder why the prisons are getting full, because we aren't building schools. Because we're not coming together and saying, "Hey, young people, what do you guys need to succeed? We can tell you every day what you need, but what do you guys want?" You know, it's like as a teacher, you're competing with rap music, you're competing with weed smoking, you're competing with parents at home who are working 2 jobs, and some of them may not even care about school because they didn't go far. Look what we're dealing with, guys. And I think you only overcome this and reach the young generation by reaching back saying, we're going to try to help these kids. And if we got 20 kids and 19 of them drop out or don't want to do it, let's try to save one. Let's try to save one. Because it's enough with everything being about sports and music. How about we sit there and say our babies can read, our babies can write. What if we teach our children history? Hey, son, today, did you know about do you know about William Clarence? No, I don't know about William Clarence. He was one of the greatest jazz musicians. Do you know about Kathleen Conwell? No, I don't know about no. She was one of the greatest writers. We come from a great legacy, guys, but we have to share the legacy. We have to share the knowledge. I don't think it's fair to get successful, guys, to get the degrees, and then don't reach back to the inner city, because our children, guys, they're falling like flies. They're dropping out of school. They're guys. They're filling up the prisons. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a 24-year-old passionate nut about the youth. Like a nut I am. Why am I passionate about the youth? I should be trying to be successful myself. I am. But when God places something on your heart, guys, you can't just say forget God, because you cry. You cry because you see your people dying. It's not always getting shot by some white cop. That's crap. Sometimes it's dying because of the lack of knowledge. You don't have knowledge. You don't have respect. You don't have integrity. You don't have character. You don't have morality. Those things aren't getting taught in households anymore because a lot of the households are broken. That's a whole nother video. But I want to end with this, guys. And I know I was rambling, but hey, it is what it is. I'm going to end with this video. I'm going to end with this statement. When you look at the greatest 2 leaders of the Bible that you see in the Bible, You say, well, who are the greatest two leaders? You have, you have, you have King Solomon, who was the wisest man on ever, and you have Moses. In their prayer, they said two things. They emphasized, God, these are your people. Help us to be leaders. Help us to lead your people. Guys, it's time for us to say, okay, God, enough of me. Help me to lead your people. Help me to reach back and save one person. Help me. Please help me, God. Let's take the attention off of ourselves, guys, and be mentors. You don't have to mentor 30 kids. Mentor your niece. Mentor your nephew. Teach them how to read. It's small things, guys. It's not always some big old